In this episode, Rob and Noah get dismissed, we wipe out on dude wipes, and yes, Pirate Queen. Welcome to Fax Machine. Hello, everyone. I'm Emily, and I'm here with my co-hosts Noah.
Hello.
And Rob.
Hey there.
And this week, we're sharing facts about girl power. Woo. Or, more generally, that the patriarchy needs to be crushed, and the world would be an all-around much better place if it was just run by women. So the three of us will take turns presenting and discussing each other's facts, and then wrap things up with a pub-style trivia quiz loosely inspired by the theme. You guys ready?
Sounds good.
Heck
All
yeah.
right. Everybody take a moment. Assume a Megan Rapinoe stance. All right, Rob, what have you got for us?
So this week I learned game shows may have the thickest glass ceiling in America, but wherever you look, one woman breaks through.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this fact came to me because I am a Jeopardy fan. I'm unabashed about it, and I recognize the flaws of the game.
You're in good company.
Yeah. It's a very popular game show. It kind of holds the mantle of being the erudite, educated, like smart man's trivia game on television.
Smart Mans, is that...
Fairly intentional. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I don't know really that much about Jeopardy. And I know that's weird because, like, we're all really into trivia and we do this, but I've never actually watched Jeopardy.
Ooh.
So what is the background
Wait,
here?
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is earth-shattering.
Yeah.
How did you manage to avoid it? Like,
I
your
don't know.
entire life?
I just
used
don't have a
to-
TV.
Just be
so
on during dinner. Wow.
I
There
used
we
to
go.
reserve the TV,
Enlightened.
like in my college dorm lounge, every night at 7 to be able to watch Jeopardy. Like I
Damn.
was very engaged in Jeopardy.
Two extremes right here.
Yeah. So just to, I guess, paint the picture for our non-Jeopardy watching listeners, Jeopardy is a game in which there are 6 categories with 5 questions each in ascending order. Each question is supposed to get harder in the round in that category. The first round is called the Jeopardy round. The second round is the double Jeopardy round, in which the monetary values are doubled. And then there is Final Jeopardy, in which there's a single question asked 3 people. They have to write down their answer and wager part of their winnings. And whoever winds up with the most money wins. Really interestingly, they just released the earliest episodes onto Netflix. So I've been watching like 1984 era Jeopardy, which is...
Totally gonna do that.
It is campy and fun, but also like if people are complaining about the misogyny of modern Jeopardy, like 1985 Jeopardy is probably not where you want to go. So I was watching modern Jeopardy though also, and there's a question in a category called Founding Mothers, and it was supposed to be like the women of the American Revolution. And the question that caught my attention was something about how this woman's husband did a thing and a thing and a thing, and the answer was Patrick Henry. And basically, in a category about women of the revolution, they referred to the woman as her in the question, and the answer was the man.
And just adding insult to injury, it was a man with 2 male names.
Yeah.
And so I found that like a little bit frustrating. And actually, there were plenty of people online who agreed with me. And so I started to look into like, okay, like how common is it for Jeopardy to kind of malign the idea of feminism just casually in their questions? And there's no better example than a recent, and by recent I mean in the last 5 years, category of Jeopardy called What Women Want.
Oh dear.
And the cringe I hope was audible there, because Emily knows exactly where this is going.
Are we playing Jeopardy right now? Is this Noah's first Jeopardy exposure?
This could be. I can read you some of the questions from this episode.
All right, let's do it.
So, in the category What Women Want, this is one of the clues you might enjoy. Some help around the house. Would it kill you to get out the Bissell bag canister of one of these every once in a while?
Would that be like, what is a vacuum cleaner?
What is a vacuum cleaner is the answer.
Boo.
Yeah. I'm too mad to think.
Yeah. So other answers.
I don't want to get distracted, but what is a Bissell bag?
Bissell is a brand of vacuum.
Oh.
No, yeah.
I pictured it like in my mind as rhyming with thistle. Like a STL.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, what the heck is that? But yeah, it is a vacuum.
And I think Bissell actually,
SSCLL.
they're famous for the
Yeah.
bagless vacuums, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's what you want if you're so busy with the hissle and the bissel of everyday life,
Yeah.
and you just need to find some time to vacuum. Thanks for tolerating me and letting me keep hanging out with you guys. It's been really fun.
I love that pun too. I just didn't laugh at it.
That's really cute. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
But back to sexist clues. So a few other answers from that category. There's vacuum cleaners, Pilates classes, and Kraft mac and cheese.
Kraft mac and cheese?
Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. So needless to say, Jeopardy drew a fair amount of flack for this one. Was not popular. They got soundly basically called out for saying, "Oh, you have really played the gender stereotype pretty hard here." And if you look through Jeopardy clues, there's a real skew to male answers. When the answer is a person, an incredible amount of the time, like well over 75%, it is a male, not a female. And this is in part, like you said, blame the patriarchy. We kept track of men much more closely. Men had this role in society where they were documented and they were known for many more years.
And they were doing the documenting.
And doing the documenting, exactly.
History is written by the victors, as in the men named Victor.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true. And like you may be able to name like one or two females from like prehistoric civilizations, like maybe a few each, but like we know a lot of the names of the men who were rulers, who were philosophers, who were poets, and so that's been carried forward. So in Jeopardy, when you're looking for arcane trivia, it's much more likely to be a male answer. This is true for a lot of game shows. So on one hand, history is to blame for like the trouble of shows being chauvinistic or really favoring male answers. But that doesn't excuse Alex Trebek and his chauvinistic comments throughout the show. And so,
Oh, jeez.
Trebek!
and I know Alex is sick. And again, I am a fan of the show. As an entity, I love Jeopardy. But he has been called out numerous times on somewhat to very insensitive remarks.
Oh boy, I am bracing myself.
Yeah, and so the most egregious was when he was talking to a sergeant in the military, and he said, "Oh, that must be hard since you have to give orders all the time," implying that it's hard for women to give orders because they're not used to leading things. Yeah, and it was like such a quick comment, and she kind of laughed at the time and said, "Yeah, well, I'm good at it," and like everyone moved on, and then people started to dissect it and say, "What do you mean by that exactly?" And if you start to do that, if you start to look at like the little quippy things that Alex says in the interviews that are meant to just kind of be pleasant and move along, a lot of them have this undertone of like, well, isn't it cute that a woman is on this show?
Yeah.
And it's just really kind of infantilizing and frustrating. But so in a slightly more fun take, I was looking up times where Alex Trebek messed up or did something egregious. And I found this list of times Alex Trebek was really rude to contestants. And the good thing about this list is it's not exclusively misogyny, and sometimes it's actually funny.
Okay.
So my favorite one might be when there are like three like self-proclaimed nerds on the show, and there's a category called football, talking football. And they left it to the very end, and they all went 0 for 5 without guessing in on any of the football clues. And each clue, Alex Trebek is taunting them, just saying like, "Oh, what's the matter? Are we scared of football? I know we're all big football fans here." And on the $1,000 clue,
God.
he literally goes, "Well, let's just look at it for fun, I guess."
Oh my God.
And so I thought, in our little band of nerds, wouldn't it be fun if we were to take a few of the questions from the talking football category?
I was going to say, a show
geez.
with 3 nerds on it who don't know anything about football sounds very familiar.
Just
If only we could find those conditions.
uncanny.
So to be fair, I found the episode in an online archive, but I have not looked at the questions yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to play along with you.
So this is Jeopardy, right? So the questions are the answers?
Yes. So the
So
clue,
that's what
the
you
clue
mean.
will be an answer. You will have to give me the question.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So for $200 in Talkin' Football, your choice. Do or don't name this play in which the quarterback runs the ball and can choose to pitch it to another back.
Well, is that an option?
Yeah, that would sound right. Let's check the answer. Option
makes
play.
sense.
Woo!
Triple stumper.
A
Yay.
triple stumper.
To which Alex says, "I can tell you guys are big football fans." Next question. Tom Landry perfected the shotgun formation with this team.
The Cowboys?
I think so, yeah.
Wow! Way to go.
Dallas Cowboys, triple stumper. Alex says, "Do you think we should go to commercial?"
Jeez.
Okay.
Yay.
$600. By signaling for one of these, a returner can reel in a kick without fear of getting tackled.
I forget the name from it. It's just like free catch or something like that. What is
I think it is a free...
Oh, it's fair catch.
Fair catch,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Oh.
And fair catch.
What is fair catch?
Triple stumper. Alex goes, "All right, 2 clues left." for $800. These penalties are simultaneous violations by the offense and defense that cancel each other out.
I guess offsetting penalties. I mean, this is just like the
This is
definitions of
terminology.
words.
I was expecting trivia. Yeah.
Offsetting penalties, Alex, and they're called offsetting penalties. Let's look at the $1,000 clue just for the fun of it. And for $1,000, Jimmy of the Clue Crew says, as Minneapolis's U.S. Bank Stadium prepares to host Super Bowl 52, and this is like right before the Super Bowl, I'm looking at the Ring of Honor with names from this defensive line that took the Vikings to 4 Super Bowls. And so this is a nickname of the Vikings defensive line.
No idea.
And so I don't remember it either, but it's probably something like the Dirty Dozen or like the Mean Machine or...
How could there be...
Oh.
The dozen part doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
It's not that many people on the field, right?
If there are 12, then you get a penalty.
Yeah, that's right. So they,
So
they were not good. They were so bad they got that nickname.
but they were the Purple People Eaters.
Oh.
Yes. And
Impressive considering they are one-eyed, one-horned, and flying at the time.
but so and that's a tough one. I did not know that, and I consider myself like good enough at sports trivia to go to trivia nights at bars. But like,
That's a requirement? Oh my
you're
gosh.
supposed to know something. But so Alex says, if you guys ring in and get this one, I will die.
Oh my
So
god.
they were trying really hard at that point, probably.
I think they really wanted to prove him wrong. But yeah, so that was a nice little fail on the sports side. The other one that was really good is there was a woman on the show who said that she was a nerd rapper, which is a genre of rap that her and her friends, they say, created, where they make nerdy raps together. And so Alex goes, "Oh, you mean losers?"
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty
I
righteous
seem to
burn.
remember us doing a live show, a couple months ago where
Yeah.
Rob did a rap of the 16 last elements in the periodic table.
Yeah, I suppose that puts me in the company of nerd rappers everywhere. Damn it, Trebek. But so, I guess having established that there's a skew in the questions, and even in the hosting of game shows, the question then becomes, do women succeed in shows like Jeopardy more or less than men? And so the answer to that is that median numbers are pretty much the same. Like an average woman will score about the same as an average man on shows like Jeopardy. But if you look at the top 10 all-time Jeopardy champions, and one thing I'll say about this is that until the late 2000s, or like in the early 2000s, I guess, until the early 2000s, there was a 5-game maximum. So you could only win 5 games in a row and then go to tournaments for championships. So basically, not many people from before 2000 are going to be on the top 10 list. 9 of the top 10 winners are men. And the highest ranking woman is actually 4th on the list, but she is the only woman in the top 10 on Jeopardy. And so that woman who won almost $500,000, Julia Collins, the highest scoring Jeopardy finalist ever, and almost $500,000 for a woman, and number 4 all time. She had a 20-game streak, which is like the 3rd longest streak ever, recently surpassed by that James, that guy.
Right. And I think his streak was also ended by a woman, right? A graduate
Yeah.
student.
Yes, it was.
It was I think it was like a library sciences
Yes.
graduate student who
I remember reading about it and being like, she checks off so many boxes.
Awesome.
Of just awesomeness. Yeah, exactly.
she wrote her master's thesis
on Jeopardy.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is very cool.
It was
Gets even better.
It was a super awesome win.
It's weird that I know that about her, but I don't know anything about Jeopardy. Like I know about her master's thesis on the Jeopardy, sort of like how to like game their system to get the most amount of money, but I don't know anything about the game, any of the rounds.
You retain the salient details. It's okay.
Right, exactly.
Ken Jennings, the all-time winning man, I remember his streak was ended by a woman too. And he got a question. I remember watching it so distinctly. He got a question wrong that was like, what company doubles their workforce one day of the year? And he put like FedEx, thinking it was like Christmas deliveries, but it was like H&R Block for tax day.
Oh,
And
Whoa.
so the woman, and I should have looked it up. I forget her name. She put down H&R Block and she got it right, but she was like 60, like some insane amount of money behind Ken. And so she was like, oh, well, whatever, I lost. And then like Ken got it wrong. and they pan to her, and she has this just startled look on her face. Like, what? What have I done?
Me? Oh, man.
I do
And
feel
ended
like
his 76-game winning streak, which is so ridiculous.
I feel like with all these men who have done really well on like Jeopardy and had these really long streaks only to be beaten eventually by women is like that scene in Lord of the Rings where it's like, no man can defeat me. I am no man. And then they stabbed Ken Jennings right in the
Eowyn,
face.
I love too that part of her character is that she just made horrible stews. It was like, she doesn't need to make a good stew, you know?
That is a pretty major part of her character.
Yeah.
And her was just like, oh, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, now we're more in our wheelhouse. Let's
Yeah,
moving away
we're-
from
that's-
football and
never
talking about
football ever again.
obscure Lord of the Rings.
One other thing that I thought was interesting when I was a kid, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a huge show. The contestants were more male than female, as I remember watching it. But
Yeah.
I think they tried to have parity in the buzzer round. But then they always asked for like sorting questions to get the contestants to play. And a lot of those questions they think had a gender bias that favored men in order to like basically compete your way out of the ring into the chair. And if you're not familiar with the show, there's like a ring on the outside where you have to answer a question to like win your spot in the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire
Yeah.
chair, and then you answer the questions.
I'm not familiar with this show either.
There's
I
so
don't
many.
know how I don't know how I started doing this.
So finally, on this topic, I wanted to just bring up other examples of misogyny in game shows
Okay.
because I thought it would be fun, and I wanted to start with
See your eyebrows dancing. Sorry.
yeah. Oh, it's good. There was a TV show on Fox that was called Who Wants to Marry a Millionaire? And so it was
Isn't
like
that just like The Bachelorette or The Bachelor? Isn't that sort of the plot of those shows?
so the beautiful thing is
I mean, it's
this
implied.
Yeah.
this predates The Bachelor. It was like the first like
There has always been The Bachelor.
there's no such thing, Rob.
Timeless.
It was 12 women who were trying to marry this rich man, and they were all just fawning over him. And there was a huge outcry at the time, like this is gross, and like people putting themselves on display and doing dumb things. And then apparently the kicker was he wasn't really a millionaire.
Was it Donald Trump? This week, I learned about Grace O'Malley, Pirate Queen.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Grace O'Malley was Irish. She was born in 1530 in Connaught, West Ireland. At this time, Henry VIII was the King of England.
Noted feminist leader, Henry VIII.
Yeah, but yeah, the Tudors were not great. But he also held the title Lord of Ireland, just as a result of the Tudor conquest of Ireland that was ongoing. And so basically, at the time she was born, Irish lords were sort of generally left alone and given a fair amount of autonomy. But this had changed over the course of the English conquest of Ireland, with their rule becoming more and more draconian. So her father, Owen, was the lord of the O'Malley dynasty. And this was a very famous seafaring family. They're notable for building a lot of forts just on the western coast of Ireland. There's a lot of like these coves where their ships can hide and then jump out and like raid passing trading ships and stuff. So they did that a lot, as well as to go up and down the coast, defending their territory, and just sort of like exerting total dominance over the waves. So when Owen died, Grace was his only legitimate heir. Grace actually had a half-brother, who, by the way, was named Donald of the Pipes. And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, Donald boy, the pipes, the pipes. So, yeah, you get it. And so basically Irish law at the time dictated that inheritance went to male heirs first, but something just about the fact that this was like her half brother wasn't a legitimate heir, meant that she was able to inherit the property and estate of her father. And so this was like a pretty cool thing, and this put her in a really unique position for the era. So now she's the chieftain of the O'Malleys and basically starts to consider world domination. So she figures step one, marry to establish a political alliance. So she marries a chieftain named Donald of the Battle, which is a much better Donald, if you ask me.
Yeah,
much
honestly,
cooler name.
of the two.
Oh, Donald boy, the battle is calling.
It's calling you.
And with this Donald, she has 3 sons, one of whom was killed by the brother of the English governor of Connaught, who the governor's name was Richard Bingham. And this is going to come up a lot more later. So Battle Donald then dies, and Grace gets a significant chunk of his estate too. So she is again, she in control of her own sort of like property, estate, and fighting force, and now basically has the land and like property from two different men, both her father and the person she was first married to. So then she makes another political alliance via what is apparently a deliberately temporary marriage. The quote was, "for 1 year certain." And at the end of this time, she breaks up with him by taking over his castle and sending him a message, quote, "I dismiss you." And so she by this point has amassed so much power that he remains her ally, because I guess he can't really afford to piss her off. So she's just like, "I have taken this castle. You can go." It's like, yeah, cool, no problem.
That's so badass.
Yeah.
Until when you're certain do you part.
That should be like a built-in Tinder message.
I dismiss you.
Just a button you press.
So with this castle she had gained, as well as all the stuff she had before, basically she just continued to build wealth through piracy and also legitimate trade with mostly France and Spain. Basically, she could launch out her ships and board any ships that passed through the mouth of the bay that her sort of land was centered on, and then she could like demand levies in return for passage to nearby Galway, for example, which is a place that people were heading a lot. So there are also just tons and tons of stories that have sort of passed into the Irish national, heritage and mythos about her basically exploits as the pirate queen. And there's account of a Turkish ship that was apparently said to have attacked her ship, and it was actually one day after she'd given birth to her son Theobald. And as the Turks like boarded her ship, she jumped out of bed and stormed onto the deck armed with 2 blunderbusses, and then they were just like totally astonished by the sight of this like person who had freshly delivered a baby holding 2 pistols, just like wild and shooting everywhere. And they stopped fighting, and she yelled, quote, "Take this load from unconsecrated hands," before firing her weapons and killing them. And so the rest of the Turkish sailors are so just like astonished by this that they just like laid down their arms, and O'Malley captured their ship. So it's pretty incredible.
Why isn't this a movie, and why aren't I watching it right now?
It's incredible. It's such an interesting story.
Oh my gosh.
But her probably one of the most remarkable stories about her. And remember, this is a person who, from the English perspective, is like the one of the main opponents in sort of the Irish rebellion against English rule. And not to mention that she is also actually a pirate. So like she is like the legitimate, ruler of the O'Malley clan in Western Ireland, is sort of fomenting rebellion for over the course of like 40 years. It was also like raiding trading ships from not only England, but as well as their allies. So her story is actually wrapped up with that of Elizabeth I. So when Elizabeth I came to power in 1558, Elizabeth wanted to increase sort of the English hold over Ireland, and then as a result of that, there was a lot of friction with the clans like the O'Malleys. And so the O'Malleys were notable for their fierce resistance against Elizabeth and the English forces that she had sent there. And by 1574, the English had had enough of getting raided constantly and having their attacks rebuffed. So they sent in, a bunch of ships and an army of men to attack O'Malley's castle at Rockfleet. But after a couple weeks of siege, she had repelled them into what was described as a humiliating retreat. So This is somebody who not only has like consolidated a huge amount of resources in a way that very few other women at that time in history were able to do, and also has been able to like outfox and outmaneuver like the best of the English military commanders, all of whom were men. And one of them, who basically is the villain of this Disney movie waiting to happen, and it's Richard Bingham. Now, okay. Richard Bingham was appointed to be the governor of Connaught in 1584, and Bingham's brother actually killed O'Malley's oldest son while Richard Bingham imprisoned her youngest son. So then he eventually did manage to take over Rockfleet Castle and confiscate all of her lands, herds, and all of her ships as well. And so this was like the lowest it ever got for her. So she does something extraordinary at this point. Someone who is basically an enemy of the English state just sails straight and requests an audience with Elizabeth I. So they meet and they're both like dressed really finely. They actually have to converse in Latin. They were surrounded by like armed people from Elizabeth's court, and so it's incredibly brave that she's done this. Just like walked right into like the jaws of the enemy to basically say, look, Richard Bingham is evil. He's like killing all these people. I think in 1 year he like ordered the execution of like 70 people and was just generally known as someone who sucks. And Richard Bingham didn't really like her very much either, as you can imagine, and said that she was, quote, nurse to all rebellions in the province for this 40 years. So this was like this, leading up for decades, is leading up to this confrontation between, the leader, one of the, leaders of the Irish Rebellion, and then the English Queen. And a lot of this is about her, about Grace's complaints about the governor and the area that she lives. So there are a lot of stories about this meeting. One of them is that Grace actually brought a dagger with her, and she claimed was for her own protection, which makes a lot of sense. But a lot of people also thought like she was probably trying to like assassinate Elizabeth I in like a suicide attack.
Low-key.
Yeah, I mean, there's another story, but I mean, basically Elizabeth, like her guards searched Grace, and then Grace was like, well, I'm not gonna walk in here without a dagger, obviously, and they're like, okay, whatever, and they have the meeting regardless. There's another story that O'Malley refused to bow, was just doing all these things to show. Elizabeth offered her a position as a countess to like stop attacking English troops, and she turned it down because she said that equals cannot bestow titles on one another. And so she is really stepping up to like the most powerful person in this world, in this part of the world. But the kind of amazing thing at the end of all this is that not only did she sail right into England where she was wanted and, ask for an audience with the Queen and do all these things like, I'm not going to bow, we are equals, I'm going to not speak your language because, I know Latin, so we're going to do this instead. She basically pled the case of the Western Irish people against Bingham and highlighted all the atrocities that he's committed, and Elizabeth, after this meeting, ordered the release of O'Malley's son and the return of her lands in exchange for her help in fighting England's enemies abroad. So basically what happened was she was such like a badass fighter and like pirate queen that Elizabeth was like, why are we fighting each other? We should be fighting the French. And that is essentially the end of what we know about Grace O'Malley. But I thought that if there isn't a movie about her yet, there should at least be a segment on Fact Machine about her, because she is a badass pirate queen.
Overdue. That's awesome.
I was really hoping that she was going to go to Richard Bingham's house and take a blunderbuss and be like, Bingham out, Bingham out, Bingham out, Bingham out. It's hard to yell with the barrel in your mouth. And then do something after that.
This week I learned that female mice get turned on when male mice cry. So this lends somewhat of a scientific basis to all those memes you see about male tears. And while it's unclear whether those tears, the mouse tears, can be triggered by male awareness of the patriarchy crumbling around them, I'd like to think it's a possibility. This comes from a 2010 study by a group of researchers at the University of Tokyo, and was published in the journal Nature. So the authors reported their discovery of a sex pheromone called ESP1, which I think is a pretty appropriate name for a pheromone, since it's basically a form of chemical communication, often detectable through olfactory senses, particularly in mammals, that's meant to initiate or augment certain behaviors. So ESP. So mice sense pheromones through a nasal organ called the vomeronasal, which is where the receptor for ESP1 is located. So the way this works is when a female mouse touches a male mouse or his nest after he's cried out his ESP1 pheromone, the receptors in her nose can sense it and then transmit signals to sex-specific regions of the amygdala and hypothalamus that, when activated, get her in the mood. Or, to describe these findings in the sexiest, most scientifically precise way possible, females exposed to ESP1 showed a 3-fold increase in lordosis behavior, a receptive response of female mice, whereby they take on a reflexive posture upon male mounting, allowing successful copulation. So yeah, this is a not safe for work fact. Probably should have warned you guys at the top of the segment. My apologies. To correct what I mentioned earlier, these tears do not arise from patriarchy awareness, but rather male mice crying routinely as a measure to keep their eyes from drying out. So they do that, spread these tears and the ESP pheromone they contain around themselves and their nest, females come over, etc. But apart from producing a bunch of headlines that made me cackle uncontrollably, this study accomplished some pretty cool stuff and raised some pretty interesting possibilities. So in the paper, the authors provide a clear linear mechanism of how this pheromone exerts its behavioral effect, from its binding to the vomeronasal receptor to chemical transmission of its signal through the neuronal circuitry of the olfactory bulb, which is just the part of your forebrain that processes sensory information from your nose, to activation of the hypothalamus by the signal that occurs in a sexually dimorphic way, meaning that only female mice get turned on by the ESP1. But this study did also capture differences in the prevalence of ESP1 in natural versus captive breeding environments. So comparatively, wild mice secrete much more ESP1 than lab mice do, which suggests this pheromone could be used as a tool to increase breeding efficiency in the lab, which can be really helpful to researchers who study mice or work with genetically engineered mouse models, since, as some of us know, it takes a long time to make these models, and if we can hurry up the pace of this breeding, then, that could help. But the part of this story that, to me, is the most interesting actually comes from some subsequent studies that expanded upon these initial findings. So last year, this same group that identified ESP1 published 2 additional discoveries in the same vein. One was ESP22, a pheromone present in the tears of juvenile mice that actually kills the sex drive of female mice, even while adult males are around also crying and spreading their ESP1 everywhere, presumably because they can't get any females to mate with them. And in the journal... And in the journal Current Biology, the authors announced the discovery of a pheromone in rats called CRP1 that's analogous to and has the same effect as ESP1 does in mice. But even cooler, in a phenomenon they've named olfactory eavesdropping, they observe that mice can also detect CRP1, but rather than getting aroused, it triggers a defense circuit in their brain that causes them to stop moving, lower their body temperature and heart rate, and basically do the playing dead behavior that they do around predators.
Oh, wow.
So rats actually predate mice in the wild, so this makes a lot of sense, but nonetheless, it's pretty surprising, and it's also a novel observation. So because these animals evolved a shared chemosensory organ, the vomeronasal.
Yep.
Yes! The same pheromone can be received as a let's get it on signal within the same species, but received as an oh shit, man, we gotta go signal between different species. And I think that's really weird and cool. So a takeaway is that while one role of this class of pheromones is as a hilarious meme-referencing aphrodisiac, their larger story is actually so much more complex and interesting. These chemicals allow individuals of a species to convey and receive an array of signals that come together like a sensory symphony and ultimately help them to survive in their environment. I mean, honestly, it's kind of beautiful. It almost brings a tear to my eye.
Aw.
All right, so we've arrived at our quiz portion of the episode. So, speaking as a woman, which I am, for those just tuning in, we may not get equal pay or equal representation in our government, or a sense of safety when walking through our own neighborhoods at night, but at least we can feel empowered by some specially made, daintily designed products that feature an array of cotton candy pastel shades and an inexplicably higher price tag. Thanks, Pink Tax. That's right. This week's quiz is all about unnecessarily gendered products, be they masculized or feminized. And I want to say, researching for this quiz was a truly enlightening experience. Who would have thunk this whole time, across the decades, nay, centuries, spent protesting for equal treatment and opportunities, all we've really wanted was a bespoke, rhinestone-encrusted toilet plunger of one's own.
Is that real?
No.
Oh, man, I thought you were saying you discovered that in your research.
It could be.
I'm sure
I
it's
would
on
not
Etsy.
be surprised.
Let's not.
Bespoke, probably. So, without further ado, question 1. What company rolled out a For Her edition of their signature Cristal product in 2012, advertising it with phrases like elegant design, just for her, and thin barrel to fit a woman's hand?
It's got to be like a gun manufacturer, I feel like.
Cristal, yeah.
Because you said barrel, but
did.
but also Cristal, isn't that
a liquor,
It's a
right?
liquor, yeah. But
So
I don't understand
it's
the
not
barrel.
the liquor.
Okay.
But, yeah.
But it is.
But it is
gun.
one of two not amazing things.
Like Smith and Wesson?
I am sure that some gun company has had like some promotion where they like just made like a pink gun and said it was like for her or something stupid. Like I mean that's the best guess I have. I can't think of anything else that's a barrel.
Crude oil, barrels of whiskey,
Barrel of laughter, barrel of laughs.
barrel of monkeys.
Is it clear pink monkeys? I think we got to tap out.
Yeah, if it's
Sure.
if it's not a gun or monkeys, then I really got nothing.
Out of options.
All right, what is it?
So the company's Bic, and the product was their Cristal ballpoint pens.
Oh.
So
I've never. I didn't know that was called a barrel.
Yeah,
yeah,
makes sense.
apparently. But
Interesting.
so like their
I would've
signature
called
kind
it
of
a
clearish
shaft.
pens are crystal pens.
Okay.
But unsurprisingly, this got a lot of mainstream backlash. And actually, when you search for them now, the first entry in Google is its customer reviews page on Amazon. And just to cite a few choice reviews, because I couldn't help myself. I can't find a switch to turn it on, and it didn't come with batteries. This is not the for her product I was expecting at all. I was disappointed to find that only 1/5 of the pens I received were pink, or maybe more. I can't do math.
Oh no.
A breakthrough in Freudian analysis. Now girls no longer need suffer from pens envy, as they've been given nice pens of their own.
Oh man.
Chef's kiss to
wow.
those reviews. All right. Question 2.
One down.
One down. Question 2. What feminized product put out by the tech company Eurostar Group, not at all related to the train, apparently, in time for Valentine's Day 2012, came in a light shade of pink and included a preloaded, distressingly sexist assortment of lifestyle apps?
It's like the
Eurostar.
BlackBerry or something.
Yeah, like a
Is
smartphone.
it some sort of smartphone?
Yeah, it's a tablet, but this company I've never heard for them making anything else. They make their ePad line of tablets, but apparently one of them.
So they make pads.
Yeah, not the not the kind of
Feminine
pads. This is
They were trying to make feminine
a
pads.
useless feminine pad. That is what this is.
I mean, you could try using it for that.
I can tell you most assuredly you cannot. So the ePad Femme, as it was called, also flopped, unsurprisingly. But I just want to note that the sort of image they supplied with the advertisement shows these various apps that were loaded onto the product, including one called Yoga for Women, one called Shopping List, one called Clothing Size Conversion, and the most heinous of all of them, one called Women's Assistant, and the actual icon to go with it is just a scale with a measuring tape wrapped around it.
Oh man.
So that's great. Question 3. What brand scrapped the man size, in quotes, version of its product, first introduced in 1956 and marketed as confidently strong, comfortingly soft, last year amid accumulating complaints of sexism?
So I kind of like the hand soap idea, like just something ridiculously like I was gonna say bisexual. That's not the right word.
Don't gender the hand soap, bro.
something very co-ed.
Okay. Unisex is what you're looking for.
There
That's
we
exactly
are.
the word I wanted.
That's better. So what brand? Actually, another hint I can give is that so the brand and its signature product are one and the same. Like this brand makes this product, and that's what it's known for. Like to the point where like any iteration of this product is known by the brand. So
it's
like Band-Aids are
genericized.
Band-Aids.
Oh, I wonder if there was.
Band-Aids are Band-Aids.
Band-Aids are Band-Aids. They're not bandages.
see.
Like that.
Oh, is it Kleenex?
Yes.
That's
Really?
right. I kind of do remember this now.
It's so funny.
It was like man-sized ones for man-sized hands or something, but it's really dumb.
It's so good. So yes, they were branding their man-sized tissues as extra large, which is what they were the whole time. But honestly, I'm so excited they ever existed because now I have the perfect image to roast sexist trolls with online. Oh, you don't like this movie is being remade with an all-female cast? Man-sized Kleenex.
To clean up your male tears, which turn on female mice.
What's that? You feel threatened by a competent, knowledgeable woman countering your ill-informed argument and revealing the unquestionable mediocrity that your life is yet to confront you with, so you can't form any response more nuanced than insulting her physique? Man-sized Kleenex. Okay, question 4. Feminine sufferers of sinosilicophobia can find a remedy in Chick Blank, which features a little black dress in the bottle, a carrying case that looks like a purse, and is somehow low carb. What's the blank?
Beer?
Yes.
Nice. This is
We
got
did xenosilicophobia, which is the fear of an empty
Beer glass.
Beer glass, right?
Yes. Perfect. But yes, so it's Chick Beer, a light American lager. To their credit, the brewer, Chick Beer Company, donates 5% of their profits to women's charities. So, cool. I like that. All right, question 5. Which of the following items is not available for sale on dudeproducts.com, an enterprise run by 4 dudes that once got funded on Shark Tank?
Okay.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
Dude wipes that are flushable wipes that are essentially baby wipes, but not baby wipes because you're not a baby, you're a dude.
okay.
Dude deodorant. Available.
Deodorant.
Yeah.
I know they really missed an
Stop
opportunity with
it.
that one. But yes, available in masculine scents like Chi-Town Night, LA Coast, and problematic sounding Deep South. Sure. Okay. Dude inserts.
What? Dude
Then,
inserts?
then what happens?
Not an action verb. To add arch support to your hiking boots so you don't end up with delicate broken lady feet.
Is this
or-
from the website, or you wrote these?
That's for you to guess. Or dude powder, a talc-free formula offering long-lasting stink protection.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I am between right now. So the first one was the
Wipes.
Dude wipes.
yeah, the dude wipes. The second one was dudeodorant. The third one
Dude inserts.
dude inserts, and the fourth one dude powder or whatever.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I think that deodorant is already, I mean, there's already such a clear like distinction between like what people sell as women's deodorant and men's deodorant, and the branding is so like crazy and extreme.
Yeah.
That I think I mean, I could see them also having one, but I think that wouldn't differentiate them in that particular merchandise category.
Yeah, but that means that Emily made up
No, she just made,
Chi-Town Night, LA Coast, and Deep South.
that's
I mean,
true.
I wouldn't put it past me.
I don't know. What do you think?
For whatever reason, dude inserts, like that's Dr. Scholl's, essentially.
Why do you assume Dr. Scholl was a man?
That's, oh, well, I'll see myself out.
One of the many things I love about Baltimore is that in Baltimore they have something called Mr. Trash Wheel, and basically like rivers that flow like sort of they're rivers above north of the city, and then in north and northwest, and then they flow basically under the city, and then they come out at the inner harbor, which flows into the Chesapeake Bay, and all this trash gets sort of washed down into storm drains and stuff and goes into this sort of underground river that then goes out in the harbor. And what they've done is make it's called Mr. Trash Wheel, and basically the water current runs it. And there's like sort of a like floating arms that go out on the surface of the water, and all the garbage that's like floating down the river gets corralled up, and then the water's current of the river going out into the harbor sort of turns this wheel, and that dumps all the garbage into like a bin that's like behind it.
Oh, cool.
So the wheel is what goes over, just turns over with the garbage and dumps it. And there's more than one, and there's also Professor Trash Wheel, which is a
gosh.
woman, and I think they're married. But then I can't remember the lore behind it, because there's all these complicated relationships between them. And I think there's even one more. But I think that everybody's just like, we should just not have a city government anymore, because we should just have Professor Trash Wheel be our mayor.
Running the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she'd be very good at cutting wasteful spending.
Nice.
Okay.
She knows a lot about current affairs.
Nice.
So I'll just point out, we failed to answer the question.
I was trying to get
You
her to
almost
move
got
on.
out of it.
I was trying to slip that by her, but thanks a lot, Rob. So what do you think?
So Emily, could you just repeat the answer? Because we've already.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with deodorant. What do you think?
Oh, this is tough. Okay, let's do deodorant.
Oh, you can choose a different one if you don't think it's that, and then
I
we'll just
kind
see
of-
who's right.
Okay, let's do that, because I kind of like the insert is speaking to me.
Okay. All right, I'll go with deodorant.
I'm gonna say inserts.
Rob has it.
Oh no.
All right.
But truthfully, like, come on. I'm not going to spend any more time on it because we've already lost enough brain cells.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude cells.
Brain cells, but for dudes.
Oh, what have I done? Okay. Question 6. What girly treat is now thankfully sold in man-sized protein-packed 8-ounce cups, so even the guys can get their dose of Streptococcus thermophilus?
Oh, Activia. Or
it's just
probiotic
yogurt,
yogurt, yeah.
Yogurt, yep, exactly. Or apparently, Brogurt. The burgeoning market of Broger. Oh, it's a thing. So the brand that I referenced with the 8-ounce cups is called Powerful Yogurt, and it features a bullhead logo and streaks of red lightning on the container because of course it does. Still no answer on whether probiotics can dissipate toxic masculinity, but maybe we need more people to eat it, and we'll find out. Okay, question 7. Iterations of this product have been ladyfied since the 50s, with special added features like storage space for a lipstick and purse, a built-in washing machine and microwave, pink accents and upholstery, and, in quotes, plasma cluster air conditioning that supposedly helps counter brittle, womanly, dry skin. What is this product?
Could it be a car? I know that'd be insane to have a washer and dryer in a car.
In your car, but
I kind of, for something, I mean, if it's not just a house, because she's talking about like AC and washer and dryer and stuff, I'm just like, what's big enough to have those things where you might need to put down a bag somewhere?
like an RV for ladies.
Ooh.
A
Yeah, I was going to
Hervey.
say a Hervey. I stopped right in the middle because I thought it sounded too much like herpes, and I didn't.
Oh, well, I didn't fill that in.
I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I would go with, I don't know, a car
Yeah.
or just vehicle of some kind.
Let's go broad and say vehicle. Let's see if she asks for more.
Well, could there be a washer dryer in it? That's what's. I don't know. I'm just saying that it would have to be this crazy.
Yeah, I mean, let's
Let's go with it. Okay. Vehicle.
It's a car.
Yes! Oh, yes!
I'm impressed. Yes.
Oh, I have to know. What did they? What?
So this question references a few different cars. So in order, the Dage La Femme, which existed briefly from 1955 to 56, featured the lipstick and purse space. So the microwave and washing machine were actually part of a 2000 collaboration between Ford and Maytag to make a minivan for soccer moms, presumably before smartphones were a thing and distracted driving was a concept. It fortunately was never made, thank God.
Where would the water go? Like, there's so many questions.
I have a lot of questions. Yeah.
Really changes the meaning of car wash, doesn't it?
They could just put the clothes in the wheel well and have it be like a spin cycle.
Yeah. I like it. And the pink accents and air conditioning, that's part of the She's model of the Honda Fit, which was rolled out in 2012, but they stopped making them in 2014. All right. Question 8. What product was recently rebranded as Men's Ultimate Multi-Tool with suggested applications including detailing, cleaning, building?
Men's Ultimate Multi-Tool. So multi-tool is like a Swiss Army knife.
Right.
Cleaning and detailing. Like etching detailing? I don't know. That could fix the surface of a car.
But it's something that if it wasn't rebranded this way, dudes might think wasn't masculine enough
to use.
It's got to be like a nail file. Something like that. I mean, you can already get out of prison with that. We know that.
It's true.
So it's already badass. Just,
Yeah.
just through that association.
Loofah.
Is it loofah?
That would be great.
Oh, I don't know. Nail file?
Okay, nail file, loofah. We're locked in.
right.
It's a nail file loofah
Multi-tool.
multi-loofah
There you
tool.
go. Just latch together. So, all right, get ready for this. Q-tips.
Wow.
And they're still available. So, so the packaging describes it as Q-tips, men's ultimate multi-tool, with uses for detailing, cleaning, and building. Presumably detailing, cleaning your ears, and building something in your ear.
You can build little models with them. Like,
I guess.
I mean, I have definitely built like three-dimensional shapes with Q-tips with
yeah.
children.
and totally, I feel like if you wanted to do a model of the Wright brothers, the Wright Flyer,
Oh, yeah.
because it has all the sort of up and
absolutely.
down and across, you could use that.
But these are all exclusively manly applications, not to be confused with a very feminine pursuit of oral
Self,
AU
yeah.
hygiene. Yeah. So yeah, the branding features all these phrases, also a steel plate design on the outer packaging, and I'm just determined to find these things. But apparently they are out there and they exist, and that's ridiculous to me.
They didn't want to go with dude tips.
It's up there with dude inserts. Oh boy. All right, so that's our quiz for
That's
the week.
awesome.
All right, well, that's all we have for today's episode. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to check out more content from us, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at FaxMachinePod and on Facebook at Fax Machine Podcast. We also have individual social media accounts. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at _EM Costa, Noah,
At Arcs and Sciences.
and Rob.
At Sweater Vest SCI.
Fax Machine is produced by Rob Frawley, Noah Giberson, Emily Costa, and AC Antonelli, with editing by Noah Giberson. Sound engineering and theme music are by AC Antonelli, and our logo was designed by Mike Zola. That's all for now. See you next time. Bye!
Bye.